lovely friends, it's Margaret. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be going over all of the books that I bought in 2022. I'm pretty sure I have not, in fact, done an actual haul at all this year. So, yeah. Either I have been much better about acquiring books, or I'm forgetting a bunch. This seems like a reasonable amount of books. As usual, I have tried to kind of separate them into categories, so check the timestamp or the description box down below for timestamps if there's a specific genre that you're interested in. We are actually going to start out, however, with some books that I am not going to talk about. All of these books, right here, are published by HarperCollins. If you did not know already, the employees at HarperCollins are currently on strike. Not all of them, but the employees in the HarperCollins union, which does end up being a lot of the assistants, a lot of the people that are doing like the actual work at the company. They're striking because they are asking for a fair wage, like not even like a thriving wage, just like livable wages for New York City. They're asking for some more diversity initiatives and a few other things. I will have videos linked down below in the description box. I'm going to have a video that kind of breaks down what the strike is about, and also a video explaining U.S. labor law in relation to the HarperCollins strike for anyone who is interested. Their Twitter will also be linked down below in the description box. Now, if you know anything about workers' rights and strikes, you know that you don't cross the picket line. And so currently, HarperCollins has some requests of different people, authors, reviewers, etc. They're not asking people to boycott the books. They still want you to buy the books because they want to still be proving to HarperCollins that these books are valuable, but they are asking, for example, reviewers to not review HarperCollins books until HarperCollins is willing to sit down and create a new contract. The union has been without a contract since, I believe, the end of last year, and they spent most of this year trying to get HarperCollins to sit down at the table to negotiate with them. HarperCollins, last I checked, is not even negotiating. But that is unfortunately where we stand. Thankfully, a lot of the authors that work with HarperCollins are very, very supportive of the strike. I will haul these books in another video where I'm going to talk about all of the HarperCollins books that I couldn't talk about while people were on strike. We're going to start out with the little bit of graphic novels that I have acquired. Some of these, it's been a long time. Well, all of these. Honestly, these are all books that I've already read, but I loved, and it took me long enough to get a copy. But I got volumes 12. Yeah, this is volume 12. 13 and 14 of the Full Metal Alchemist manga, the Full Metal edition. I think I am very, very close. I think there's maybe 15 and 16 still out, so I haven't been buying these up as quickly as I was last year, just because I'm kind of trying to make them last while I wait for further editions of this specific, like, special edition type thing to come out. I love this series. I've been waiting to get this one for forever because it's got my favorite character on the front of it. These are absolutely gorgeous editions. I love that they're hardcover. They've got the illustrations on the front, and then they've got all of this fun, like, these fun details that are kind of on the inside. It's just really fun to be able to sit down and, like, have these really nice editions of my favorite manga. I got Batman Year One, written by Frank Miller, and then drawn by David Mazzucchelli. I also got Batman The Long Halloween and Batman Dark Victory. This is kind of like a comic book duology, written by Jeff Loeb, art by Tim Sal. Year One and The Long Halloween were inspirations for the most recent Batman movie, and so obviously I had to go and reread them because it's Batman, obviously. The Long Halloween it starts on Halloween and it follows Bruce through the year, kind of checking in on different holidays where these murders keep happening. And then we also have in Dark Victory, we have kind of like a sequel to those events, following some of the fallout, while also adding in this new kind of dynamic with baby Dick Grayson. And I love him. He is just every single point in his life where you can have him in a story, he is just delightful, and I love him. If you're interested in more of my thoughts about these, I do cover Year One and The Long Halloween in a Batman reading vlog that I did along with Batman Ego by Darwin Cook. I didn't buy that one because I'm not as big a fan of some of the stories, because most of them are like there are a couple of stories that I really liked in there, but I could buy them standalone. After that, I did get a couple of nonfiction this year, not as much as I got last year. Got the 1619 Project, created by Nicole Hannah Jones. This is a bunch of essays examining the history of slavery in the United States. It's examining the effect that it has had on American history throughout the last couple of centuries. I know this has gotten a lot of pushback from people who want to not talk about these things and want to pretend like our history has had no effect on our present, but it is something that eventually I do want to read. And I also like a lot of what Nicole Hannah-Jones has posted and talked about on Twitter, so I wanted to kind of go more in depth with her thoughts and the thoughts of the other people in this book. I also got White Supremacy and Me by Layla F. Saad. This is one that I've been meaning to get since I heard about it in 2020, and I just finally got to a point where we were able to get it and it was on sale, so I got this. This is I believe there's this book, and then there is also a workbook. I don't have the workbook just yet, but eventually I do want to sit down and kind of read through this. I got it from my library, I think, and you know how library books work. You get them, and you think you're going to read them, but you only end up reading like 3 of the 20 that you took home because you only have so much time in the day. So I figured, why not just get one that I can sit down and take my time with. Also, I bought Driven to Distraction by Edward M. Hallowell and Doctors Edward M. Hallowell and Dr. John Rady. This is a book about ADHD. And if you've been on my channel for any extensive time, mostly I talk about this in live shows, I highly suspect the part of why I am the way I am is that I have ADHD. And so I am trying to arm myself and get ready, because I know getting a diagnosis is going to be more difficult, because this is a realization that I did not come to until I was like 33, 34, 30, I am 34 now still. So like 32, 33, and I know it is much more difficult not only to get a diagnosis as a woman, but also to get a diagnosis when you are an adult. So I am doing some preliminary research, trying to kind of figure out like what can I match up with my paths. Unfortunately, a lot of my childhood is a blur, because that is one of the symptoms of this particular thing. It's a symptom of a lot of things that could be going on with my brain. I got this because I feel like it will be able to help me, and even if I can't, you know, I'm not in a place where I can be seeking treatment right now because of the way mental health is, even if I'm not in a place where I can afford to seek treatment, there are still things that I can do to kind of, you know, things I can be experimenting with on my own. There are a lot of people that I know from when I was a kid that are going to be like, it took you 30 years to figure that out, Margaret? Yes, it did. Well, more like 20, but like, you get what I'm saying. And then the final one that I got was Caste, The Origin of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. This is another one that is examining race in the United States. It is one of those things that was at my little free library. I knew I wanted to read it, so I just went ahead. I was like, let's go ahead and pick this up. This looks like it's going to be covering race, class, and many other factors that kind of lead to the hierarchy that we see in the United States when it comes to people and jobs and wealth and all of that stuff, and it sounds like it's going to be a very illuminating and interesting read. Moving on from there, we have a scattering of various contemporary books. All of them, mostly this is just all of the books set in the real world, because like I don't have enough of each of these genres to really like have a separate section for them. I have Pretty Dead Queens by Alexa Dunn. This is Alexa Dunn's newest release. It is about a girl who moves to this like small town, and I believe it is like Oregon, after her mother dies, and she moves in with her grandmother. She ends up getting caught up in the murder of a classmate, which is a copycat murder of a death that happened when her grandmother was in this same high school. It is a very interesting story. I'm not sure how I feel about the ending. It is not how I would have liked it to go, but she definitely did keep you guessing and keep you wondering which answer was going to be the right answer. There were a lot of different things that could have made things different. It does grab you at some point and kind of have you going, okay, but I need to know what happened next. Let's go. I also got The Boy in the Black Suit by Jason Reynolds. I do believe this was a gift from Kara over at Wild Book Garden. I did not save the receipt. I know someone got this for me. I don't think it was me. And I'm pretty sure it was Kara, because that's what Kara does. This is about a young man who, to deal with his mother's death, starts going to different funerals, and he actually ends up working at the funeral home that is local to him. He's kind of taken under the wing of the man who owns that funeral home, and so it's about him trying to navigate his grief, trying to navigate his relationship with his father, and also trying to navigate being a teenage boy. This is a beautiful, beautiful book about grief and death and how people process and how messy it is, and I loved it. I feel like this one is underrated because you don't hear about. I hear about a lot of Jason Reynolds' work, but I don't hear about this one, and I wish more people would pick this one up. After that, I have 2 Emily Henry books. I have Beach Read that I picked up at my like a little free library that is near my house, and then I also have People We Meet at Vacation. I have been meaning to haul this one for like months, but I keep forgetting. Every time I did a haul, I forgot to put it in there. So I've actually had this one for a while. Should have been hauled ages ago, but now we're here. I have heard really good things about Emily Henry. I have friends who really, really like her and really enjoy her work. And so I decided I wanted to go ahead and check it out. and see what it was about. After that, we have Ophelia After All by Raquel Marie. So this is about Ophelia, and she is dealing with the fact that in the wake of her breakup with her most recent boyfriend, she's starting to have feelings for a friend, and she finds that those are kind of taking over her thought process and taking over what she's thinking about, and that's a little weird to her, considering she feels like she should be more upset that she, like, lost her perfect prom. Raquel is someone that I know from Twitter. We collectively mourned when the 100 got Rothenberged at the end in season 7. Just watched it get absolutely, like, out Game of Thrones. We have known each other for a while. We have been interacting, and so I wanted to support her, so I bought her book. Another book that Twitter made me purchase is Once Upon a K-Prom by Kat Cho. If you don't know, I absolutely loved Kat's debut, Wicked Fox. 5 out of 5 stars. This also got 5 out of 5 stars. It was so delightful. I loved it. By the time you are seeing this, I think the reading vlog where I talk about my feelings about this book is already up, so I am not going to reiterate those, but, like, it just is a fun little rom-com with some serious stuff, like, perfectly balanced between, like, light, fluffy, unserious, and, like, the really, like, thought-provoking, deep, hard-hitting stuff. This kind of follows them having to rebuild their friendship and maybe falling in love a little bit. And then the final one that I have to talk about for the kind of, like, contemporary is The Seed Keeper by Diane Wilson. This is one of the books that I picked up for the Curious Minds book club. Obviously that book club is currently on hold just because stuff was going on with my life and the other co-host's life, and we're just like, you know what, let's just put a pause on that and we'll come back to it later. This is about Rosalie Ironwing. She is Indigenous and she was removed from her family's home and adopted out by another family when she was a child. She is coming back, reconnecting with her family, and kind of trying to confront her past, from what I understand. We haven't read this one yet because we have, again, put the book club on hold. And now we're moving on to the last group, which is the largest group because fantasy. I'm a fantasy nerd. I like fantasy. I really enjoy it, and so I bought some fantasy books. I bought a few fantasy books. First one that we have is Fevered Star by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is the sequel to Black Sun. I know people hate this cover. I don't. I think it could have been done better, but I don't hate it. This is very hard to explain, especially considering that I need to reread the book before I start this one, but we follow 4 different people in the first one, and they are all kind of coming to the city and being put in place for this very powerful eclipse that is going to happen, and just a whole bunch of stuff was put in motion in that first book that I assume we are going to be following through with in this book. We also have Age of Ash by Daniel Abram. I don't know anything about this. I just know that it is by one half of James S.A. Corey, who wrote the Expanse series, which might be my favorite book of the year. Definitely my favorite series that I have read in a very, very long time. It's been a long, long time since I've read a series that is giving me feelings like that. Like, that I've just, like, known in my core, in my soul, I love this series. Like, just, sometimes you come across a series that is so special. Anyways, I don't know that that's going to be repeated in this, especially since I have heard mixed reviews about this book, but I wanted to give it a try because I figure if he can do really well in the Expanse series, maybe he'll do really well here as well. I also got myself a copy of King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I am still working through rereading the Rishaverse. At some point, I will reread all of the books. Will it happen before season 2 of Shadow and Bone comes out? Who knows? Who knows? But I have this. I need to get Rule of Wolves before the only copies available are the ones with the stupid Netflix logo, but we got this one. I also got Vespertine by Margaret Redson. Do I remember what this is about? No, I don't. I just know that I have loved both of her other books. I enjoyed An Enchantment of Ravens and absolutely adored A Sorcery of Thorns, and so I cannot wait to see what is going to happen in Vespertine. I'm very excited about it. I'm very, very excited about it. It's thicker than her first one, which means I think we're going to have some really quality, like, world building and character and all of that stuff. I know people complain about her first one being too short, not having enough, and I'm just, what she was trying to do, she did very, very well in that first book. And the fact that she was able to do that in the amount of pages that she did, I don't know, I enjoy it. I also got Blood Marked by Tracy Deonn. This is the second book in the Legendborn series, and I can't tell you what this one is about, although I think Tracy Deonn was in fact trying to emotionally murder me. Like, maybe physically trying to murder me, because this book, she kept dangling what I wanted in front of me, but obviously because of the way the plot is going, if you've read the book, the way the plot goes from the first book, you couldn't really do that, and just... Anyways, the first book is about Bree, and she is in, like, an early college program at University of North Carolina, somewhere, Chapel Hill, something. It's a university in one of the Carolinas, and she is there struggling with grief over the death of her mother. That's happened, I think, within the last few months, and so she decided to do this early college program to kind of get away from home and get away from those feelings, so that she has some separation from that. And then one night she sees a boy attack some mysterious creatures that no one else can see but her, and she ends up getting drawn into the world of the Legendborn because she finds out that it's very possible that someone in the Legendborn world was involved in her mother's death. It's so much more than that short description of the first book. Like, she takes that book and she makes it something. She makes it something you are not expecting. And she did the same with this one. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. And just let Tracy Deonn write all of the books from now on. I also got a massive book. I got The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I am going to be rereading the series because I read the first book. I was pleasantly surprised for like how well it was done for a book that was written in 1990, considering like there are books written that I read growing up, like being published when I was growing up, that are not as well done as this book is done. So I wanted to get a copy that I'd be able to kind of sit down with and like make notes in and all of that kind of stuff, because this is a very dense, like very rich world, and it's easy to get lost. And I did. I listened to the audiobook and I definitely got lost. Oh, we're not even close. We're only on the hardcovers. So I also got Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. This is a retelling of the Ramayana, and it is retold from the point of view of Kaikeyi, who is kind of one of the antagonistic characters. She is part of the reason why Rama in that legend ends up getting thrown out of the court, and a whole bunch of stuff. Like, it's a lot to explain. For the most part, I did think that it did what the author set out to do. I think she did it really well in the way that she is examining the way women's stories end up being told. We also have 2 copies of The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. We have the regular copy and also the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of The Luminaries. This is about Winnie, and she is a Wednesday, and her mom and her brother and herself have been exiled from the Luminaries. And what the Luminaries do is that I am terrible at, but basically her family, she is part of the larger Wednesday family, and they are part of a larger organization called the Luminaries, and their job is they have a specific spot in North America that it is their job to kind of babysit, because there is not an awakening magic, but there is magic there that every night creates these nightmares, and it is the Luminaries' job to make sure the nightmares do not get beyond a certain point and into the greater world. Winnie's family has been exiled because of things that her father did, and so she is trying to get back in the good graces, because the only thing she's ever wanted to be was a luminary, to be a hunter. Their exile doesn't end until 10 years after her father's betrayal was discovered, and that is well past when she would be able to do the examination to be a hunter. But there's nothing in the rules that says she cannot do the examination or the first trial while she is in exile. I thought it had a fantastic little like romantic tension going on through it. I really liked Winnie and like what she was trying to do, and like all of the things that she was navigating. I enjoyed it. It was fun. We also have the Atlas 6 and the Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. I read the Atlas 6, gave it 5 stars, highly enjoyed it. It is following 6 students that end up getting drawn into this secret society. They find out that the Library of Alexandria did not burn down. It was in fact simply hidden, and so they are called to come study at it, and at the end of the year, 5 of them will be allowed to continue on and continue their studies in this very exclusive secret society program, and 1 of them will die. So this is a fantastic book. I really enjoyed it. It is much slower paced. It's very like thought driven. It's very like you're just gonna be, it's a lot of a vibe. A lot of characterization. There's not a lot that happens at the very beginning as the characters are kind of figuring out what's going on, but there's also a lot that's happening behind the scenes that they don't know about, and so as they move further, it's a very complicated plot to talk about, but like I absolutely adored it. And then we also have like one of my favorite books from this year, and that is Little Thieves by Margaret Oven. This is following Vanya. Vanya is the goddaughter of Death and Fortune. Her mother turned her over to them as a child in exchange for like them taking care of her, and now that she is older, her godmothers are trying to get her to decide which one of them she is going to serve. She's like, I don't want to serve you, I just want to be your daughter, and I'm going to get as far away from you as possible if that is my only option. And so she's trying to steal enough money to get far, far away from the land that her godmothers are tied to, and she steals from someone that offends one of the smaller gods in her area, and she ends up getting a curse where she is going to slowly turn into jewels, and unless she gives back what she has taken. She also is having to deal with the fact that there's this junior detective named Emmerich that is trying to figure out what's been going on with this string of robberies that have been happening in noble houses. I am running out of room on this table, and I still have more books, but we also have City of Dusk by Tara Sim. I got this. This was the late night book club's pick for like June or something, July, something like that. I think it was June. I went through, I read this. I think it was good. I really enjoyed a lot of the plot. We're following 4 different people who are heirs to their respective houses, and each house has its own specific type of magic, and they're dealing with the fact that the gods have closed their world off from all of the other dimensions that exist, and so there's stuff going on with the magic, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it and reopen the other dimensions so that magic can flow the way it is supposed to be flowing. And there's just a whole lot that is going on here. Not everyone is my favorite character. There were a few that I was like, yeah, you can choke, but for the most part, the characters I liked. I do think it could have done with a little bit more editing, because the author does this thing where, like, you'll go through one character's point of view, and then the next character's point of view will have backtracked and have you go back through that character's, whatever happened in that character. Like, you'll end up kind of crossing over, and it's not done as well as it could have been. Like, once or twice would have been cool, like, to make a point, but it's not really making a point. It's just like the way that they decided to do this story, and I didn't think that it wasn't done as well as it could have been done. So we also have Daughter of Redwinter by Ed McDonald. This is an arc that I received from Tor in exchange for a fair and honest review. I do have a review of this book along with a reading vlog where I talk about this book up on my channel, so if you are interested in any of my thoughts on that, you can. This is about Rain. She has a death magic that is technically illegal. If anyone finds out she has this magic, she will be stoned to death for it, and then she ends up getting caught up in events outside of her control and taken back to this monastery where the people there, if they find out who she is, those are the people that would in fact prosecute her. I have a lot of feelings about this book. There are things that I don't know. I just feel like certain parts of this were really, really interesting. I really liked the magic system. I really liked Rain as a main character. And I liked kind of the mystery that was going on. There were also parts that I was like, why are we doing this? What is going on here? Also got the second Arasha book, Arasha and the Song of Death. She is the reincarnation of one of the Pandava brothers, only in this case it's 5 Pandava sisters. And she is dealing with the fact that she is basically a demigod and trying to figure out how does she stop the world from ending, because she kind of sort of starts the end of the world by accident. If you're interested in more about it, me and my friend Thor from Thor Wants Another Letter are going to be discussing this. This is part of our R-squared Rick Riordan, R-squared read-along. The R-squared read-along. It's been a long time since I've had to say that, okay? I also got non-Netflix editions of this is Shadow and Bone and Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. Technically, this is my old book. I just took the cover off of the one that I bought, but oh man, it took me a minute to find these books. This one was the hardest to find. So yeah, which is annoying that I hate Netflix. I hate the Netflixification of books. If you don't know what the Grishaverse is about, there are a lot of reviews on YouTube about it. I'm not really going to go into it because the sun is going down. I also have The Curse of the Spectre Queen by Jenny Elder Moak. This is a Samantha Knox novel. I have no idea what this is about. It is an arc that was sent to me by a friend, and it sounded really interesting. So I was like, hey, yeah, if you're getting rid of it, I will take it, and I have not looked any further into it. So it was definitely a cover buy. I also have Oleander by Jennifer Alice Provost. I received this as an arc and enjoyed it so much that I decided to buy the physical copy and also the sequel. I have the sequel on ebook. I mostly wanted the physical copy to check the ending, because if we end up in the middle of a sentence, almost in the middle of a scene. But this is about a woman who is a seer, and she's been trying to kind of escape that world. She's become a PI, and then she gets drawn into it because someone gets she has to go to rescue someone who is in the middle, like she has to exorcise a ghost, basically, which is what she can see, and she gets drawn into a whole bunch of different politics that she's been trying to stay out of since her grandmother died, because technically she's supposed to take up her grandmother's position, but she does not want to. She has no desire to be involved in that. There are a lot of reasons that she does not want to be involved in that, so she's also dealing with a police detective that is kind of starting to put some pieces together and be like, I think you're a little more than you are saying you are. We have Nettle and Bone by Team Kingfisher. This is like a modern fairy tale going on thing. Like, this is like proper Grimm's fairy tales. This is about Mara, and she discovers that her sister is married to an abusive prince, and there's not much that anyone can do about it without risking her kingdom and putting her very small kingdom at war. Like, there would be a lot of really negative repercussions, and so she goes to a witch, a dust witch. She goes to a dust witch to ask her to do something about this prince so that her sister is no longer under his thumb and is able to escape him without her kingdom being negatively affected. And the Dust Witch sets her 3 impossible tasks, and we kind of come upon her as she's trying to do those impossible tasks. They kind of end up striking up a very unlikely friendship, and it is just delightful. I really enjoyed it. It was just fun. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, had a lot of fun with it, and there is a video again that is going to have more of my thoughts on this, so check that out when it is up eventually. I also have a discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I don't know what this is about. I believe there's time travel involved. I believe there are witches involved, and that is about as much as I know. I know it's a story, not a story, it's a TV show now. Yeah, and that's it. That's all I know about the series. But it was, again, at my little free library, and I knew it was one that I was interested in possibly reading, so I went ahead and picked it up. I also know that the hardcovers of this series are very expensive, so yeah. And then finally, the last bit that we want to talk about is I'm going to talk about Half a Soul and 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater. This is a bunch of like romances set in Regency England, but in this Regency England, there are fairies. The first book, we have Dora. She has half a soul because a fairy cursed her when she was a small child, and so she does not feel emotions to the full extent. The more immediate, like, happiness, anger, those kinds of things, she really just doesn't feel them, doesn't react to them, but like some of the deeper stuff that like you process over time, she does still like kind of have that capability. I really enjoyed this first book, so much so that I went and bought the second book without having finished the first book. Like, I was halfway through and I knew I was going to read the next book, gave it 5 stars, this one at least. I don't know what we're going to give this one because I haven't read it yet, but I have a feeling I am going to like it very much. It is like sort of a Cinderella retelling, I've heard. Those are all the books that I have bought in 2022 that actually, considering how last year went, seems like a reasonable number of books. I'm actually not horrified by this. If you've read any of these, I would love to hear about it down in the comments, and if you want more of my thoughts on books, there will be a video right over here. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want more thoughts from me, more videos from me, the subscribe button is down there somewhere as well. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!